Thursday, April 28th. It's the call up, and we have a continuation of this top 100 prospect breakdown. Aram Layton, joined by Jack McMullen, who just called one of the quickest, maybe one of the quickest minor league games you've ever experienced, right?
Yeah, it was the quickest minor league game I've ever experienced.
Pitch clock.
It was 2 hours, 5 minutes long, Aram. It's ridiculous. Last Saturday, Indy and Columbus played a game that was 2 hours, 6 minutes long. Indy and Iowa just played a game that was 2 hours, 5 minutes long. The average duration of a game is down, I think, close to half an hour this year compared to last year with this pitch clock. I love this pitch clock, dude. I don't know how much AAA ball you've been watching, but I mean, these games are flying, and you don't run into, I just brought it up on the Just Baseball show, you don't run into the Sawamura issue where a guy takes like 60 to 70 seconds between pitches.
I mean, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is, like, again, if you have to step off and take a second for a big pitch, I get it. But there's the guys that just work incredibly slow. I think it's good to see the pace of play. I was talking about this with one of my good friends who will come on the podcast at some point, catcher in the Tigers organization, Michael Rothenberg, and super smart guy, played at Duke, and just he's super intrigued by everything that goes into the new rules and all of those things. And I think he's going to write something for us on Just Baseball, just kind of his firsthand account of it all. And he likes a lot of it. There's some things that he feels like are a little bit of an inconvenience, like the amount of times you can step off the rubber. They want to crack down. I think that's a little bit much. You can have the pitch clock and figure out how you're going to enforce it. It's a little bit complicated, but I like it because, one, these minor league games can drag the hell on sometimes. And two, I think it's a good experiment to see what happens at the big league level, because all of the other things I think where I wash, enforcing a pitch clock is really the only way that you're going to get the pace of play up a little bit. But I know we're going to already have some issues at the major league level with pitchers fighting back and getting mad and all of this and that. But ultimately, it probably is better for the game, and you're experiencing it right now.
You remember when you were a young kid and, you might have been different, but like your mom wanted to take you clothes shopping and you were like, no, I like my old clothes. I don't want this new like shirt. I don't want these new shoes. I like the old one. Like that's what you're going to run into with Major League Baseball players. You already see it. And like the CBA is an entirely different beast. Like that has to do with their financial well-being, like how they can take care of their great grandchildren. But, the beauty of the pitch clock is I haven't seen a single guy have outings entirely get away from them, because you do have a second to take a deep breath and shrug your shoulders and decompress. You have 20 seconds. 20 seconds is enough time. And you get the ball, you take a deep breath, you can do a quick circle around the mound, and then you get on the rubber. You have 20 seconds from the time that the ball gets back to the pitcher to him coming to the set position or starting the wind.
It's a pretty long time.
It's a long time.
It's more than enough time.
It's more than enough time, dude. It's pretty freaking great. And I think the guys that are going to have the most issues with it are the ones that, can't mentally hit the reset button as quickly as others. And I understand that, but you also got to learn how to do it quicker. And to be totally honest, sports losing fans because games are 3.5 hours. I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, they don't watch the games. Like real baseball fans are gone because of that stuff. You know what? I want the fake baseball fans. I want as many people as possible to watch the sport.
Exactly. And also you want people to watch through the whole game. So you want people to feel like they're not losing their whole day checking into a ball game, and especially if it's a minor league game. And I think the pace of play is really going to captivate them. I will say one other point though, Jack, that I think is interesting. And again, this is why I'm really excited to get Mike Rothenberg on here, is he seems to feel like, or at least at the high A level where he's playing, hitters are a lot more aggressive this year. They're realizing how hard it is to just freaking hit, and they're jumping on the first pitch they see. And he was saying that you're seeing more hitters go after the first pitch than ever before. I don't know if you can anecdotally speak to that, but I think that's also helping the pace of play as well.
Anecdotally, I can. I can't speak to it with any data, with any like data points or numbers or anything. But anecdotally, yes, I see a lot of guys hunting the first pitch. I see a lot of guys hunting fastballs early in counts because, like we talk about, everybody's breaking stuff is getting so good.
It's getting too good.
And when you get ahead in the count, they're going to turn to the breaking stuff and it's not going to be strikes. So you're either going to chase or you're going to, hang around in at bats and give the pitcher more chances to beat you. So I see a lot of guys doing damage on the first pitch. I see a lot of guys falling quickly behind, nothing in two, which I love. The speed of the game, I'm telling you, like there were some times, and like total transparency, high A last year, there were some games I just wanted to stop calling because it was so brutal, dude. We would go 20 to 25 minutes without a ball in play because somebody can't throw a strike. And you've got mound visits, and you've got this guy taking a minute, and you've got this guy rocking back and forth before he throws a pitch every time. And it was just unbearable. And that's not the sport that I fell in love with. The speed that this game is working at right now is the sport that I fell in love with, because the ball's being put in play, even when it's not, it's clean strikeouts, and the level of baseball is just higher because it's quicker. It's like, okay, let's speed this thing up, and they get moving.
And baseball is cyclical like that. And I think we're seeing a lot of pitchers lean heavier on the fastball, and which results in more strikes. So it's been fun to watch. And it's funny, starting off with our top prospect here, that we're going now, 60 to 51.
60 to 51.
A guy that's pretty aggressive at the plate. He will get his swings in, and he will ambush fastballs. And this is somebody that is a really unique case in the psychology of prospect rankings. Michael Harris. Michael Harris of the Braves organization, outfielder. I'm a huge fan of his. He's just turned 21 years old. But Michael Harris is one of those prospects that was pitted against himself a little bit, because I think he's in a great spot here, number 60 overall prospect. He had a great year in high A last year. I would say good year in high A last year. It wasn't great or awesome or off the charts. And for that reason, I feel like he lost a little bit of helium. And it was all helium that drummed up from what was a ridiculously good display at the alternate training site, a lot of hype within the Braves organization. And he became that like trendy breakout candidate. And as a result, he didn't fully break out, and people were like, ooh, let's drop Michael Harris. But Michael Harris was great as a 20-year-old in high A, 294, 364, 436 slash line, 8% walk rate, 18% K rate, only 7 home runs, swiped 27 bags, and he plays good defense. That's a great year. If it weren't for all the hype and all of the shooting him up list before he even did anything yet, I feel like people would have been talking about Michael Harris's season a little bit differently.
So if Michael Harris, if some people were talking about him in an underwhelming fashion in 2021, I think that alleviated some of the pressure of being that guy that performed so well at the alternate site in 2020. He's had a great start to the 2022 season. He's in Double A as a 21-year-old. He's over 3 years younger than the league average hitter at that point, and he's hitting 320 with a 920 OPS. I mean, this guy, granted only 17 games, but what I love about Michael Harris is it feels like he does everything well. What stands out to you is great that Michael Harris does right now? Anything?
I would say just the feel to hit, if anything, but he does everything well.
So that means he's a pure hitter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I agree that there's not really a hole in his game. And this was a guy that second round out of high school, a lot of people liked him. A lot of scouts, teams, evaluators liked him as a pitcher. And so he never really went all in on the offensive side of things until he was drafted. So for him to be, kind of out punching his age or his size, I guess I would say, for a 21-year-old, just turned 21, as you said, in Double A, it's a testament to the hit tool. But there's a lot of belief that, he can tap into more power. And that's something I always talk about with the two-way guys. Alec Burleson really clued me into that, who was off to a ridiculous start for the Cardinals, by the way. Yeah. Burleson was a two-way player at East Carolina. And once he stopped pitching, he was like, yeah, I could really put on that upper body strength.
Strength.
Yeah, it's strength that you can't put on when you're pitching, because it kind of limits your fluidity, and you don't want to jeopardize your arm health by going bench press or whatever the heck you're going to do, right? So it's really, really impressive so far what we've seen from him. Even though he's an above average runner, like you said, he doesn't do anything incredibly well. He gets the most out of all of his above average tools. He's a 55 runner, but he's got 7 stolen bases in 17 games. He had 27 last year. He's the power's the one thing that I'm interested to see how that develops, but it's easy above average potential power. He's already hit 2 home runs in 17 games. I don't think 20 home runs is out of the question with the hit tool. And again, you got the hit tool that's bordering on plus. I'm a huge fan of Michael Harris. He might not be an MVP candidate, but he's going to be an above average regular with great defense, or at least good defense, and a great feel to hit and burgeoning power.
Yeah, the home run numbers, what do you think the 50th percentile outcome is? Do you think it's like 15?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like 15. Because again, he's going to hit so much that like those guys that hit enough, those doubles turn into homers. They'll get out, in the right environment. When he plays in Cincinnati, he's going to sneak some out. When he plays in Coors, he's going to sneak some out. And all of a sudden you get to 15. But I do think there's 25 in there. Like he's put up some exit velos of 107, 108. It's in there. And I always look at these guys as you figure out the hit tool. Now you just try to leverage those hitters counts, try to do damage a bit more and see how it goes. But it's hard not to have this guy where he is, right? Like I love where he's at in this ranking because you can almost bet on the hit tool at this point and you can bet on the athleticism, and it's just how high is the ceiling? And there's enough to dream on there, I think.
Yeah. And, I find it interesting just looking at some other publications, top 100. We technically have him on the lower side, but it's a pretty solid ballpark with everywhere. So Baseball America has him as a top 50 guy, 46th overall. So Baseball America has him at 46. MLB Pipeline's got him at 65. So we're 5 spots higher. But then Baseball Prospectus has him at 58. So we're right in the same ballpark. Baseball America sees something in like the stardom possibility that I think we don't. I'm with you. I don't know if he's an all-star. I think he's an everyday outfielder.
And a pretty solid one that does all those things pretty well. And again, I mean, that's extremely valuable. And he's someone that's going to rise. By the midseason update, he will rise because, again, the proximity thing, right? So even if he doesn't show us the 25 home run power yet, if he's hitting 310 in Double-A, now with 50 games under his belt, he's going to rise on our midseason update. So it's funny that Michael Harris, when you look at Christian Pache, you look at Drew Waters and Michael Harris, it's very feasible that Michael Harris could end up being the best outfielder of the bunch. And Drew Waters has really fizzled. Pache's traded, and Harris is the one guy that they don't want to move, and for good reason.
Yeah, I think it's not just plausible. I think it's likely that Harris is the best of the three.
Although I will say Pache's looking pretty good. He seems like he's starting to settle in a little bit to who he is, and he's never going to be a star, but he's going to play great defense and run into some baseballs here and there. But I agree. I think Harris is going to be is going to have the best career of the bunch and has the highest floor without a doubt. Checking in at 59 is a Rays prospect. And this is another one that I would be interested for you to pull up and kind of see where the rest of the industry has him, because I think Taj Bradley is a guy that you're going to see almost like scattered all over in terms of perspectives on who he is and where he ranks. Taj Bradley was lights out last season. I mean, the right-hander just rode his fastball to dominance through the lower levels. He's 6'2", 190, was a 5th round pick in 2018. And the Rays they found another guy who gets the most out of his fastball and has the complementary stuff that continues to develop. The fastball is 96 to 98. He'll touch 99. The slider is pretty nasty. I have almost a plus on that. And the changeup seems to be developing and has a chance to be a pretty good pitch. I just love the athleticism on the mound. The fastball gives him a really strong baseline, but this isn't one of those guys that I am like, I could see him rising. I could see him falling. I'm not set and convicted with Taj Bradley. I'm always going to be transparent on it. I like him in this spot, but I could see him going either way at this point. Like he's right at that fork in the road. And it's going to be interesting to see how he continues to, handle the promotions.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how he gets acclimated to each level. And he's at Double-A right now. He's with Montgomery. So that might be interesting. We're going to see the Montgomery Biscuits in Biloxi at the end of May. So hopefully we run into Taj there. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned he's 21 years old. He's like 4 years younger than the average pitcher at the Double-A level. So, same deal as Harris. They are outperforming their expectations in the early goings of their professional career. And they've got tons of time to grow. Bradley so far this year through 4 starts has a 3.5 ERA. So he's thrown 18 innings across those 4 starts. Again, very small sample size. He's punched out 19. He's only walked 3 guys in 18 really innings. So there we go with the command, but 16 hits against him in 18 innings. It's a whip over 1 after a guy with a whip at 0.9 last year. So, he was probably a little bit too good for low A and high A. He accumulated most of those video game numbers at low A. Mm-hmm. And we'll see how he gets acclimated to Double-A, but just looking around the industry right now, and I'm just plucking these from Baseball Reference. They do a great job of, consolidating all the prospect rankings, and hopefully Just Baseball's the 4th tab right now.
I was going to say, I dream of the day where Just Baseball gets on there, and we can have our own little spot on there.
Sooner rather than later. He is not ranked inside the Baseball Prospectus top 100. So we beat Baseball Prospectus to the punch. Baseball America's got him at 58. So one spot higher
Oh,
than
wow.
we do at 59. Yeah. How about that? Right. But MLB Pipeline Mayo has him at 74.
Okay.
So a little bit farther down the top 100. So, I think us and Baseball America are functioning very similarly.
It's funny too, because Jeff Ponce is a guy I always love to bounce stuff off of. And he's a guy at Baseball America. And usually when I see something stray way off, that's usually who I'll check with and be like, okay, our lists are pretty similar, but I'm way different than you guys on this one. Like, am I nuts? And usually I'll be like, no, that's fair. I tried to push for that guy, but I got overruled or whatever. So it's funny how that works. But there's some lists that are always going to be a little bit more similar and some that are going to be different. Fangraphs, I don't even think is on Baseball Reference yet either. Right.
No, we got to beat Fangraphs. That's priority one.
Okay, yeah, good luck with that one, but that'll be cool. That'll be fun. But to speak to Taj Bradley, the reason why he's going to give up a lot of hits, right, is he leans so heavily on the fastball. And the fastball is really good. It's a plus pitch. It could be better than plus. But when you're not locating that up because it's high spin, riding action, guys are going to hit it. And when you are a fastball dominant pitcher, you're going to be susceptible to a lot of home runs and a lot of loud contact. And, that's why I'm really interested to see how the secondaries work for Bradley. Right now he's at the AA level, succeeding to a degree, but that contact could catch up to him a little bit. And again, as hitters start to get more acclimated as the season goes on, they're going to get more data and say, okay, Bradley's going to go fastball up, just see it up, anything else, just shut it down. And, it's going to be interesting to see how he continues to be able to get outs as the league starts to acclimate to him a little bit, because I think he had that anonymity working in his favor before. But talking to some hitters, they said fastball plays up really well when it's elevated. It was really tough to hit, but by the second time around, we said, okay, let's lay off it. And if he's not locating called strikes at the top of the zone, now he's got his work cut out for him a little bit. So the thing is, he's extremely young. He's in the right organization and he's got the right natural tools. At 21 years old in 1 month, what do you think? What direction do you think Bradley's going to go here in Double A? You think he's going to continue on this path, or you think he could slow down a little bit?
So I was actually going to flip the question on to you. I was going to say, let's forecast for the midseason. If he were to climb, what's he doing well? If he were to drop, what's he doing poorly? You know what I mean? So if he were to climb, if he were to move from 59 inside the top 50, is it continuing to keep this walks per nine under 2? Is it, striking out more guys? He's right around 9 Ks per nine through his first 4 starts. He was around 10.5 last year in his breakout season. So I feel like if he climbs into the top 50, it's, ERA still down, but getting a lot of strikeouts, getting that strikeout per nine number back to 10-ish and keeping that walks per nine number low, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then what about if he falls?
I think a big way for him to fall is if that changeup doesn't develop at all. That changeup doesn't need to be great. It just needs to be okay. And that's the only thing I always emphasize with guys with fastballs like that is the changeup does not need to be elite. It just needs to be good or okay. And that's enough just to keep hitters honest, because the fastball will make that changeup play up a little bit. So it's really on the secondaries for me. I believe in the command. I think the mechanics are pretty smooth and clean because he's such a good athlete. And I mean, the results are there. So I think it's really that development of the changeup, and I'm interested to see that. But he did flash some good changeups the last start I watched against Pensacola. So I'm very eager to see, how that continues to develop.
What do you think of the Rays' ability to turn athletes on the mound into very solid, smooth mechanic guys? Like Boz, he was a little crazy when he was in Pittsburgh, and then they simplified it, and now he looks like he's working in slow motion. And if he worked at full speed, he could throw 109 miles an hour.
100%. I mean, that's what's absolutely amazing. I would even put Shane McClanahan in that bucket as well.
McClanahan, right? Same thing. Freak athlete. Tommy John his freshman year at South Florida, and then he comes back and he's got these smooth mechanics, and he just uses turn to the best of his ability.
And not just that, also guys that aren't that athletic on the bump and like getting the most out of them, like a Tommy Romero that is now at the big league level, a 15th round JUCO pick. So they do both really well, and that's why Again, I don't try to I try to look at the players, but you have to factor in who they're with when it comes to, the confidence that you have in their development. And that kind of goes right into 58, because 58 is a guy I know you're going to love, your left-handed pitching bias over here.
Yes.
Kyle Harrison, 58, San Francisco Giants. This is one of my favorite young pitchers in the minor leagues. His fastball, again, another guy whose fastball just has a ridiculous profile. It helps that it's 94 to 96, but it is an extremely difficult pitch to pick up, has a ton of life, and he's naturally deceptive. What also really works well for him is that his changeup is already plus. So you have the fastball changeup combination that's really difficult. And if it's not plus, it's 55 presently. And then he has a damn good slider too. His stuff is ridiculous. I think Kyle Harrison could be one of the best left-handed pitching prospects in the game, especially as Nick Lodolo graduates.
Yes. So we were talking about Kyle Harrison when we did the top 10 Giants prospects. And Harrison, what I love about him is you mentioned the low release, high spin on the fastball. The way the changeup works off the fastball from that same arm slot is insane. You have no idea what's coming. Like, Rob Friedman's going to have a blast when he gets up. Pitching Ninja is going to have a blast putting overlays of the fastball and the changeup together, because they're going to look like the same pitch for the first 50 feet out of his hand. And then they're going to tail off from each other. Yep. One's going to rise, one's going to drop. That is perfect. And you talk about pitchability. This guy's a lefty pitchability guy with a 95 mile an hour fastball. It's your crafty lefty, but he throws 95.
And the built-in deception is what I love too, because it really emphasizes that tunneling that you talk about, right? Like, you don't know if it's the fastball or the changeup until, the ball is
too late until your barrel is in the zone.
And you know who it reminds me of, right? Is I'm gonna who I'm gonna comp this to, right? I feel like you're gonna guess.
Come
on.
No.
Trevor Rogers.
Is it Rogers?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Rogers is more overhand.
He's a little bit high. So the similarity is, Rogers is a little bit high 3/4, but what I like in terms of their similarities is they hide the ball well. It's a lively fastball, and it's a changeup that looks like the fastball out of the hand until it's too late. Like, Rogers never got a plus grade on his changeup, and it's just played up insanely well because hitters are so geared up for the fastball that it looks like, the changeup looks just like the fastball out of the hand, and then boom, it dives off. The actual mechanics don't look as similar, but the desired result and what they're able to generate off of the fastball changeup combination, I think, is going to be something that really helps Harrison. I also think Harrison's got a better breaking ball already. So that's the crazy part is Rogers is still experimenting with that slider. Harrison's slider already flashes plus. So you have the fastball changeup that work off each other in the most desirable way possible. And then you have a slider that already is looking like it could be a plus pitch. How can you not be just amped up about Kyle Harrison?
Yeah. So he's in high A right now, if I'm not mistaken. He's in Eugene on the best roster ever assembled.
Yes.
So there we go. He's a Eugene Emerald, but Harrison, he's a high A guy. He's 20 years old. My thing is, they're obviously going to try and sign Rodon to an extension if he stays healthy like this and pitches like this. And I think Rodon, he's going to want to stay in San Francisco if he continues to pitch like this. So you're looking at a rotation in 2023 or 2024 that fronts Rodon, Logan Webb, and Kyle Harrison. Those are two lefties and a righty that have three entirely different looks. And that's going to be a ridiculous trio up top.
That's just unfair. And by the way, have you seen what Kyle Harrison's doing thus far in high A?
I have not.
21 Ks in 11 innings, 3 walks.
No way.
21 Ks in 11 innings.
No way. What's the Ks per 9 or the K rate?
Yeah. So the Ks per 9 would be 17. Or the K rate would be 46%. He's striking out every other hitter. Like that is insane because, mind you, 3rd round pick in 2020, and he's still 20 years old. And the talent pool in that high A league is very high. I know that the Emeralds are hoarding some of it, but it's a good league. This is not him carving up low A guys. This is high A hitters that he is just taking care of. And again, it really helps with the high spin fastball, over 2,400 RPMs. It just has that life to it. Kyle Harrison, I think, is going to be could be the top left-handed pitching prospect in baseball by our midseason update, without a doubt.
Yeah, and it's not crazy to say whatsoever.
No. And I'm really, what I'm more interested in is his timeline, because you talk about like 2023, 2024, when's it going to be? It's more likely going to be end of 2023, early 2024, but who knows? Like if he's carving guys up like this, the command continues to get better. That was the one question. Now the command looks good out of the gate early. He could end up ascending real quick if it's this easy for him. So I'm very interested in the timeline.
Yeah, I think he and whoever rakes with Eugene is heading up to AA real quick. And we'll see. The beauty of Harrison being 20 years old is you can take it step by step. If he decides to flatten out a little bit in Richmond, then like keep him in Richmond. Why not? Right? Yeah. He's 20.
Yeah. He's back on a normal timeline again.
Oh God, darn.
That was like what I was saying with Gore, right? It's like Gore had the disaster season, and oh no, he's debuting at 23. It's just wild how that works.
Dude, he looks so good, by the way.
Insane. Absolutely insane. Although 2 starts against the Reds, so I'm going to be that guy. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, he looks fine if you're that guy. The first one, he had a shutout start against the Reds, and the next one he punched out 10.
No, he looks phenomenal, and it's so awesome to see. But speaking of guys that debut at 23, someone that should have debuted at 23 and comes in at number 57, Jose Miranda. I have him as third base / outfield / first base / wherever the hell they can stick him, because his bat is going to be the card here, right? He's second base as well, whatever, anywhere. But dude, you've seen this guy now a little bit in person. He's really freaking good. He rakes. He was somebody that I feel like when I put out the top 10 prospects for the Twins, people were like very surprised at how confident I was in Jose Miranda. Like they were excited about Miranda, but they're like, really? Like, you think he's already big league ready now? Like, you're not worried that he came out of nowhere? And I was like, he didn't come out of nowhere. He was a 2nd round pick out of high school, had a good start to his pro career, then struggled to get acclimated in high A. And that struggle to get acclimated in high A was an 89 WRC plus. It was a low batting average, but it was also a low strikeout rate. It was just an aggressive approach and a hitter that just was struggling to get acclimated. Then no 2020 season, and he doesn't get a chance to really correct that. And then he emerges in 2021 and balls out. Stronger, more physical, and a new look swing. That isn't really coming out of nowhere for me. And real quick, before I kick it to you, Jack, I just want to go over his numbers from last year between AA and AAA. 344, 401, 572, 30 home runs, 62 extra base hits, a 12% K rate, 7% walk rate, a 158 WRC plus. I will say this, and I stand by it. Jose Miranda was the best hitter in the minor leagues last year.
Yeah, he was. Who else could contend with that? The 3 guys that finished in Omaha: Witt, Prado, Melendez.
Well, exactly.
That's it. Yeah, I think Miranda, I just saw him for a week. They played Indy in St. Paul. I saw him and Royce Lewis, and I was pretty impressed with Royce Lewis, to be totally honest. We talked about that.
Yep.
I was impressed with Royce, and I think that he can come up and be that third middle infielder for Minnesota whenever they want him. Jose Miranda is better than Miguel Sano right now. I promise you that.
Without a doubt.
He's better than Sano right now. He's better than Trevor Larnach. I saw Larnach for a couple of games, and that dude looked dejected. His body language was terrible, and then he got the call up. So, okay. Go get Jose Miranda. Like, that's my thing about a guy like that. All he's doing is being the leadoff guy in AAA and putting bat on ball and putting together quality contact left and right. He had a slow start because it was 20 degrees.
I was going to say, like
the season.
People were looking at the Fangraphs page. We're all guilty of this. Like, this isn't me saying anything about anybody, because I'm guilty of this too. And like, I'll shoot you a text because I look at Miranda. I'm like, oh, 92 WRC plus. But you forget that the first 8 games he was actually playing in freezing temperatures.
They got snowed out twice in the first 2 weeks. I mean, that is ball in St. Paul. And I understand that the big league club's in Minnesota, but I mean, dude, you got to cut these guys some human slack. It's hard to play baseball when it snows outside that morning.
Yeah. And I'll take the sample size from the entire season last year over, what is a slow start, but he's already gotten going now, and he's already hit 2 home runs, and he looks good. What really stands out to me about Miranda is he's 6'2", 215 is what he's listed at. He's probably closer to 220, right? As we always talk about the listing weights, or
Probably north of 220. He looks like a stockier guy. He doesn't look like the freakiest athlete on the field, but
no, he's not.
He's more athletic than his frame, though.
Oh, for sure. And you see it in the box. So what I see with Miranda is like, okay, how did he break out? Well, first of all, he was one of the most aggressive hitters in the minor leagues in the early going in 2018, 2019. He's still aggressive. Like, don't get it twisted. He's aggressive, but he's toned it down a lot. And I think that's something that's helped him a lot, picking the right spots, but also putting on 15 pounds of muscle and not having that really compromise his mobility and his fluidity. He's got crazy pop, Jack. I mean, he's already put up a 113 mile per hour home run this year. He has put up 114s, 115s, which again is elite and elite at the big league level. That would put him in the top 2% at the major league level. This is a dude that has game-changing pop and a really good feel to hit. It's really approach-oriented, just not being too aggressive, but the pop is undoubtedly there. We saw him hit 3 home runs in one game in his AAA call-up, and he can really put bat on ball. I'm going to bet on those kinds of guys any day of the week. I don't care about the defense. And even though he's not great defensively, he can play first, he can play second, he can play third in a pinch. He's not going to be good at the latter two, but he'd be more than passable at first. And I think he can handle second base. I think the idea of what a second baseman is has changed a little bit in Major League Baseball.
A little bit? Max Muncy's playing second base.
Correct.
A lot of bit. Jose Miranda can hold down second base if Mike Moustakas and Max Muncy are playing second base occasionally. I'm good with that.
Exactly.
Miranda, what I like about his swing is it looks long. Eye test says it's a long looping swing. This guy is
not.
No. And it's not short. Like, it's not a compact swing. He doesn't, turn and have his hands on his belly button, but like he gets the most out of that swing. And it's not a swing that he's going to, not be able to get to pitches on the inside part of the zone. This guy, when you talk feel for the barrel, this guy had feel for the barrel galore last year.
Oh my gosh. And look, I'm going to say this, and I don't want people to be like, oh, he's comparing him to this guy. The swing is somewhat similar to Albert Pujols's in terms of the sweep through the ball. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to wear it. I'm fine with that.
I stopped listening after you said Albert Pujols. I just tweeted it. Jose Miranda, the next Albert Pujols, question mark, at Aram Layton's column.
So the reason why I'm saying that is Pujols is a guy that really tries to hit line drives, right? Like, he's line drives that turn into backspun home runs. And it's that sweep through the zone. It's that meeting the ball at this angle that just generates natural backspin. And if you look, I'm going to edit it. I'm going to have Ben Bellotti cut this up and put the swing side by side. It's closer than you think. And I'm not saying he's going to have that kind of ability, but there is a reason why he's a high contact guy who doesn't strike out a lot. That barrel sweeps through the zone. He's a doubles hitter that hits a ton of home runs because he backspins baseballs and he impacts them at 113, 115 miles an hour. I'm all in on Jose Miranda, but again, he's going to be a little bit limited due to the aggressive approach in terms of how consistent he's going to be. But I still think 260 with 30 plus home runs, 270 with 30 plus home runs is what you can expect from this guy.
So if you have Ben Bellotti cut Jose Miranda and Albert Pujols side by side, I want him cutting Miguel Vargas and Alex Rodriguez side by side as well.
They're similar too. They do look similar. And again, like, I know we talk about like, oh, that swing is similar. It doesn't mean that they're going to become that guy. It means they have some of the same characteristics that are, helping them have success with that stroke.
Nick Gonzales and Mike Trout, same thing.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I thought you were going to roast me, so that's not as bad, because people always take that and they're like, "Whoa, you're comparing Nick Gonzales to Mike Trout?"
God, no,
not yet. We're going to get to Nick Gonzales in this episode. Couple episodes.
Yeah,
this episode. Oh yeah, slow start, by the way. So we'll get there in a second. Cade Cavalli, a guy that, man, is he hard to rank. Cade Cavalli, big power right-hander. First round pick in 2020, 23 years old, maybe some of the most effortless 100 I've ever seen. We saw him at the Futures game. It was a joke how easy the 100 was. Disaster of a spring training. Not a great start to his 2022 in AAA either, though a lot of indications would point towards some bad luck, but also just giving up some loud contact. It has not been great for the guy that is probably as close to anybody for me in terms of like an 80 fastball. But obviously the results have pushed me away from that. It's an easy 70 fastball. It's nasty stuff. It's a disgusting changeup, a good breaking ball, but he just has no idea where it's going.
Yeah. So Cade Cavalli is a very interesting prospect to me. And we're lower on him than anybody else. Baseball America has him at 27. Pipeline has him at 39. Prospectus has him at 19. They have him there because he throws 100. And like it again, like you said, it's an easy 100 and the sliders wipeout. But like a lot of fastball slider guys that are harder and harder, this guy is harder and hardest. Like you said, he has no idea where it's going. I'm very, very worried that he is never going to figure out where it's going, because we've seen enough guys like that.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing with Cavalli, though. I think you're right, but he has the floor of a closer, and that's the thing. He's going to go in there and throw 102 in one inning. And so, that's why I'm comfortably putting him in the top 100, is because you've got a big league arm here, and a big league arm for a long time. The command is a question as a starter. The command is more than passable as a reliever, and he'll be fine in that regard. But the Nationals need him to be a starter. They need him to develop. And look, he jumps quickly, but he's 23.
It already looks like Rutledge is going to be a reliever too. Like it's looking like Cavalli and Rutledge might both be bullpen guys. And after the Denneberg miss, they so badly needed Rutledge and Cavalli to be starters.
I was looking at that actually today. Looking at that.
Mason Denneberg, is he still playing?
Yeah, I think he's still playing, but that was a rough pick there. And so I look at Cavalli's season last year, though. Guy dominated, but he also dominated through walking, like getting away with walks, right? He walked 5.4 batters per 9 in Double-A. That's because he couldn't ride the fastball to prominence. Like he couldn't ride the fastball exclusively to success. He did that in High A and got away with it. And, was able to just go heater. And he locates that pitch better. He doesn't have any feel for his secondaries. And, when he had to go to the secondaries more in Double-A, he struggled with the walks. He was able to pitch around it because he got the swings and misses, and he still pitched to a 2.79 ERA. But then it's not a coincidence when he gets to Triple-A, Jack. The zone gets tighter. Guys start hitting fastballs, and he gets to Triple-A, and he has a 7.3 ERA in 24 2/3 innings. Then he goes to spring training. Same drill. Now he's back in Triple-A. Same drill. The zone gets tighter. The hitters get better, and the fastball cannot be the only thing you use to succeed. The secondary stuff has big time potential. It's nasty. It looks great, but it only looks good, or looks can only take you so far. It's got to be in that strike zone, and they're nowhere near it for him. He's still a top 100 guy, though, because of the upside, because of the fallback of a closer. But I feel like we've got this one kind of pegged a little bit better than the industry. And look, I'm never going to say, oh, everybody else is wrong and we're right. I just feel really good about where we have him compared to everybody else, because I really don't think they're calculating the risk here.
Right. And we, I think, tend to be a bit more risk averse. And one of the guys that we're going to get to in just a couple is, as risk oriented as you could possibly get, but the tools are off the charts. And that's the deal with Cavalli. The tools are off the charts. The fastball, slider, those are like top 5 closer in the game right now. Yes. If he became a closer. But where do you put Emmanuel Clase if he's a top 100 prospect right now? I think right around this list, right? Because you're looking at impact guys. I think you're looking at outside the top 50. And I think Cavalli can be a really good bullpen piece. But how valuable is a really good bullpen piece? Is it top 50? I'm not sure. I don't have much confidence in Cavalli as a starter. And before we move on from Cavalli, I did just look up what Denneberg's going on with. He was on the 60-day IL last year. He might be going through TJ right now. So He might be coming back. But 2019 was his only experience in minor league ball. It was at the complex. It was in the GCL. He had a 7.52 ERA across 7 appearances, and he hasn't thrown since. So I've got no idea what's going on with Denneberg at the moment.
And the Nationals just are not developing their arms very well. No. I think that's safe to say. But Josiah Gray has looked phenomenal at the big league level, but it was the Dodgers. He
wasn't developed by Washington.
The Dodgers developed him, and they took it. But then you got to know your strengths and weaknesses. And there you go. They got somebody that can help them now. Someone that could help the Yankees soon, but has started pretty slow. And it's delaying potentially his ETA, which we had pegged at 2022. Oswald Peraza, breakout last year, had a phenomenal season, and really looked like he could be the guy that could get up to the big leagues before Volpe. And I know Volpe's the future of the position for the Yankees, but the belief was, okay, maybe Peraza can hold the fort down, and then you move him to second or third or wherever once Volpe is ready. So far in the early going, it is extremely early, but it's been a rough one for Peraza. He's hitting just 143, 236, 245 in AAA. But the encouraging side is he's still taking his walks. He's not striking out an egregious amount. And Peraza is always going to give you plus defense and then some, and also good speed. So I look at Peraza. I'm not worried about the slow start. I was very interested to see how he'd come out this season, because if he hit really well and Gleyber continues to struggle and, the middle infield is a little bit murky, then you could find some more time for Peraza. But right now, I think it's clear he needs some more ABs in AAA. But I love the glove. I love the breakout and the tools we saw with the bat. And I think the athleticism is very evident in the box. I'm very excited about Peraza's future and a nice piece that has developed here in the Yankee system.
Yeah, Peraza, I think, is another guy that needs the weather to warm up. I think that's his type of thing. And he had a really hot start in 2021 with Hudson Valley, and Hudson Valley, yes, is, in New York. So it was cold at the beginning of 2021. Okay. But he hit 306. You can get past that, but you look at 2019, he started the year in Staten Island, and this guy hit 241. So that's the type of thing that we're looking at there. So like Peraza, yeah, he started 143. He's a career 275 hitter in minor league baseball. I'm not concerned about the batting average at all. He's not, going to have a terrible year. I think the weather needs to warm up, much like what I'm seeing with O'Neal Cruz in Indianapolis right now. These guys, are warm weather people. So they need the weather to warm up. Peraza is a really good defender, like you mentioned. If IKF gets hurt, I still think Peraza is the guy at short.
I agree. I would rather see Peraza up there than Gleyber, because here's the thing. It's not like Gleyber is giving you some massive offense. And Peraza is already a better defender right now. Peraza was a better defender last year. He might've been a better defender 2 years ago at shortstop. So, I love that value. He's also quicker. He swiped 36 bags, actually 38 bags last year, and 22 of those came in the upper levels. So again, you can't really cite the rules in the lower levels, because he stole 22 in the upper levels. So I like what he brings to the table. Again, he doesn't need to be an impact bat to be a good shortstop at the big league level. He could be 275, 20 home runs, and swipe some bags, and you've got a well above average everyday shortstop.
Correct. And this could also turn into a Trevor Story situation where Story, I'm not saying Peraza is going to be Trevor Story, but Trevor Story functioned as the stopgap between Troy Tulowitzki and Brendan Rodgers at short, right? Tulo left, Colorado drafts Rodgers the next year, and Story was the guy that was supposed to buy Brendan Rodgers time as he got there. That's what we're looking at with the Peraza Volpe situation. So Volpe is going to be the shortstop. IKF is the guy right now. I think if IKF struggles or gets hurt, or you want to move IKF somewhere else just because of a depth thing, and IKF can play everywhere, Peraza, at the worst case, can be a fine stopgap, can be a Taylor Walls between Adames and Wander Franco. And then get Volpe up and we're good. And Peraza can either be a great bat off your bench, he can be a great trade chip if you need to go fill a hole, or he can turn into a second baseman if you're ready to move off of Gleyber.
100%. I'm with you. And I'm very excited to see, how the Yankees handle that. But I think Peraza is really forcing his way up there. And again, slow start, but I think he's going to get going. And the power is interesting too, because we're starting to see that continue to tick up. The exit velos have been impressive at times. And he's a guy that has a little bit of movement to his swing, but he's such a good athlete. He repeats it all well. And I think he's going to be a good big leaguer for some time. Could be a trade chip as well, though. I really do think that's a possibility. Moving in to the next guy who literally was a trade chip, 54, Brandon Williamson, now with the Cincinnati Reds. And this is a guy unequivocally, I can tell you, we have higher than everybody else in the world. And he's off to a bit of a slow start. But again, I think you really have to factor in new organization, part of a big trade, and it's 3 starts to begin this year. It really was one bad start that makes the numbers look poor. but the command has been really iffy for Brandon Williamson in the early going, which is interesting because he seemed to have made big time strides in that regard last year. But Williamson, a lefty with fantastic stuff, a good fastball, deception, and I'm going to die on this hill with him because I am a big Brandon Williamson fan. Obviously, the centerpiece in the deal that brought Jesse Winker over to Seattle along with Eugenio Suarez. Not a great start for Williamson in the command department, but man, this guy can get strikeouts and get strikeouts in droves.
Yeah, when you say not a great start in the command department, that's 13 innings and 11 walks.
Yeah.
That's not good. No. Williamson, 6'6", 210. He is a big, lanky guy. And you're right. Unequivocally, we have him higher than anybody else. We've got him at 54 here. He's 83 in Baseball America and outside the top 100 on Pipeline and Prospectus. So there you go. Williamson, I find him very interesting mechanically. What do you see with him mechanically? Because I see a guy that the curveball is the best pitch. You mentioned that in the write-up, you see a 60 grade on the curveball right now. I see a guy that, comes over the top, uses all 6'6" of his frame and spins that thing off like nobody's business. He's literally yanking that thing down from above your head to your shoelaces. And that thing is dropping like a rock.
That's kind of the problem. It's really hard to locate that. It almost breaks too much. And you see that a lot with guys with really good breaking balls. Even Matt Brash is struggling with command at the big league level because it breaks out of the zone. Guys are shutting it down. They know they can't hit it. They spit on it. And if you're not locating it for a called strike, it's a challenge. But why I believe in Williamson is he has an assortment of pitches he can go at you with. The fastball, like I said, really plays up. He's got a slider as well that flashes above average to plus and a good changeup. So if he's struggling with this command out of the gate, mix and match. Use your other pitches. Like we saw Mackenzie Gore last year. And I know it was a little bit more than just command. It was a lot going into it. But Mackenzie Gore was a guy that, was struggling to locate his breaking ball. Okay, go to the slider a bit more than the curveball. Go to the changeup a bit more. Like he has an assortment of pitches to go to. Mix and match and see what you're commanding better to get through. And I think that's exactly what we'll see Williamson do. Fangraphs has Williamson at 63. So I think they're closest to us in terms of the ranking there. And I think it's because they like his pitches across the board. The first start was rough. He's been better since in terms of limiting damage, but again, the walks. So it was 4 innings, 2 walks in his first start, ironically, gives up 5 earned runs. Second start, he goes 5 innings, 1 earned run, but 4 walks. And then his last start, 4 innings, 1 earned run, but 5 walks. So there's definitely an issue right there. And I think, again, a little bit of it has to be probably new environment, early start. Let's see what happens. But I still really believe in Williamson. The fastball plays up because of that release point, like you talk about. And then the 3 secondary pitches that I think are all flashing above average with the curveball already plus. I'm going to bet on a guy like that. 6'6" lefties can get out of whack pretty easily, but they can also recapture it. And look, the Reds did a great job with Nick Lodolo, a tall lefty who, they didn't know how the command would be, and it turned into a strength of his. So hopefully they can do the same with Brandon Williamson.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know what that's about. Like I've heard Chattanooga, Tennessee is a lovely place. I've heard it's growing. It's got a nice downtown. He's probably getting sound sleep at night. I'm not sure what's going on there, but you're probably right. It's this acclimation process that is probably just a little bit slower for him because this is a guy that, grinded. And then all of a sudden this trade came out of nowhere and it's okay. Time to get up, time to move cross country. That's a West Coast team with all their affiliates on the West Coast. And now you got to go to Tennessee.
And he also struck out less than 3 batters. He walked less than 3 batters per 9 last year. Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't a huge issue. He also struck out 37.4% of batters. So, yeah, again, hopefully, like you said, it's just an acclimation and hopefully he'll get going soon.
Maybe it's the clay on the mound. Maybe it's the actual dirt. Maybe he's digging his toe in and he just doesn't have it right. Who knows?
It's baseball is that freaking weird.
Yes.
Coming in is a guy that's finally getting it going a little bit, but not a great start for Nick Gonzales. I don't know. Double A, is it cold? Where's he? Altoona,
Pennsylvania. They got a roller coaster in right field.
Oh, so maybe that's distracting him. Now we're just going to make excuses for
Damn.
Oh, I saw
ride the roller coaster.
O'Neill sent one off that 120 off that roller coaster. I remember watching that clip back.
It's a wooden coaster too. I'm shocked that thing didn't go down with a BB like that.
With an O'Neal BB just taking down the foundation like Angry Bird style. This is a player that look, again, another guy that I'll die on the Nick Gonzales hill. I had the pleasure of watching him day in and day out in the Cape Cod League. And it was incredible to see how easy this guy made hitting look. His hands are insane. He has, for what is not a huge frame, 5'10", 195, 200 pounds, some of the most insane bat speed and raw power. It's really easy raw power for him. I watched him with a wood bat go dead center 420, flick the ball the other way for a home run over the right field wall and go to pull side easily. Last year was a bit inconsistent because he dealt with some injuries. But even when he came back, finished extremely strong, still hit 18 home runs in 80 games. But so far at the AA level, it's just, he's just been a little bit inconsistent, a ton of walks and a ton of strikeouts. And I'm interested to see how Nick Gonzales gets acclimated, because this is a guy whose hit tool I would bet on. But I know a lot of evaluators are starting to scale back their perspective on his high-end hit tool.
Yeah. You know what tells me a lot is the fact that you saw him every day and didn't get jaded and didn't start to pick out the weaknesses. Like that tells you, if he was consistently good for an entire summer, that tells you all you got to know. And I think that's the beauty of what we do. We're constantly watching these guys on an everyday basis. And if there's nothing to turn us off of them as a prospect on an everyday basis, they're so damn sound. A lot of people are higher on some people that I've been around than I am, because, you're around them. It's like, you pick out all the flaws with your roommate in college. Just because you're around them, you see all the things that start to nag you. You pick out all the weaknesses because you get jaded by the strengths. And if you were never jaded by the strengths, and if you could never locate a weakness, then that tells me all I got to know about this guy. He is a sound hitter and he's going to figure shit out.
You talk to anybody that played against him in the Cape, they all were like, this guy is just different. You talk to all of his teammates in the Cape, they'll say the same thing. But the thing that really gives me confidence in Nick Gonzales, this guy was a walk-on in New Mexico State. He's just hit at every single level. People doubted, they're like, oh, it was the environment, he was just, playing on the moon over there in the whack. Then he goes to the Cape and wins Cape Player of the Year. It just absolutely demolished really good pitching with a wood bat. What I really like about Nick Gonzales is the way he carries himself. As I'd get to the game early, I'm watching this guy take batting practice, and all these other guys are hitting nukes and just trying to go tape measure shots. Gonzales has this whole plan up there, and then he's going through all of his progressions, and then he goes on and is talking about the mental side of things. And that was one of my favorite guys to talk to before the game, because I've never seen someone so even keel when it's going well, when it's going poorly. It usually goes well for him, but that's why, with these early struggles, I'm not worried about somebody like Nick Gonzales. And even when he's going poorly, he still takes his walks. He still spoils the tough pitches. And right now, it's a bad start for him, and it's still a 106 WRC plus because he's getting on base at a 380 clip. So I think he's going to figure it out. I think he's going to be just fine. And like you said, I've got getting to watch him day in and day out. The only thing I could pick at with him is the arm strength, but he plays second base, so who cares? Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm excited to get him out here to Indy. If he performs in Altoona, he'll get out to Indy. I'm excited to watch him every day. And listen, if I can't find anything either at the AAA level, I think I'm good. I'm ready to latch on with you.
100%. And it's a little bit of zone swing and miss, if there's anything. And it's because his swing, you talk about the similarities to Mike Trout. That's Mike Trout's zone swing and miss on elevated fastballs is not great. He swings and misses through elevated fastballs. He tries to lay off that because that's the way his swing is geared for. Then Gonzales is still kind of feeling out the best way to utilize, his strengths and, not given to his weaknesses, which is elevated heaters. So he's just got to lay off those a little bit more. And Mike Trout's become the best in baseball at laying off those elevated heaters. That's part of the reason why he's so good, beyond just the natural gift that he has to play baseball. Speaking of natural gift, got to be maybe the most gifted guy in the minors. I would venture to say he could be the most gifted guy in the minors. Elly De La Cruz, shortstop, Cincinnati Reds. Talk about a guy that you teased him earlier. We've got him way up there. And look, this could go any way. This could go, he doesn't make it above AA. This could go, he wins multiple MVPs. And because that there's a feasible scenario where he wins multiple MVPs, I'm putting this damn dude at 52 on our top 100 list.
I don't know what to say. Like, if he turns out he's Acuna, he's 99 power, he's 99 speed. He's a creative player. He's as close to creative player as minor league baseball has right now. He can play a fine defense at short or third. I have no idea where he's going to be. He swings and misses right now. That's his problem. And you have a 30 grade at the present with a 45 future on the hit, but you got 60-70 on the raw power and a 70-70 runner. That's who he is. He is 99 power, 99 speed, and we'll see if this shit pans out for him. And oh, by the way, he's a switch hitter because that's how you create your video game characters.
And oh, by the way, you talk about updating the strength and updating the weight, I guess, and measurables and all that stuff. He was last listed at, I believe it was 6 foot 155. He's now listed at 6'5", 200. He's 20 years old. He signed for $65,000 international free agency. There's a lot of similarities to O'Neal Cruz in terms of just this guy that keeps growing every time you see him, but still is able to do things that you wouldn't expect somebody with like a small forwards build. And that's the amazing thing about it. He's 6'5", 200 and still has more room to add strength. You know what the other nutty part is like you mentioned, he's a plus runner. I've never seen somebody take 3 strides and be at the next base. It's unbelievable. I was watching his triples. He had several last year, and it was like he got from home to third, and it seemed like 9 steps. He flies. And honestly, I might have to update the raw power future to 80, which would put him with O'Neal Cruz as the only guy that has potentially 80 raw power. He's 6'5", 200. He still has way more room to fill out. So even if he slows down a tick, he's got crazy raw power. Look, there's swing and miss there, no doubt about it. And he's striking out right now at 38% of the time in high A. But he's 20 years old, just turned 20. He has 3 home runs already, 5 stolen bases. And what I love is he's a switch hitter with absurd power. Has already put up 113s, 114s, which is stupid because he's going to get stronger. And as I've said time and time again, he is everything Jason Dominguez was supposed to be. And guess who's still not in high A? Jason Dominguez. So if you kept Elly De La Cruz in low A, he'd be lighting it up. I can promise you. But he's in high A, striking out because the Reds want to challenge him, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah, so both those guys, Dominguez and Elly De La Cruz, are like the closest thing that we have to Sid Finch, right? The one that you hear all these crazy stories about, and it's like, oh, this guy hit one 595 feet, and it was snowing that day. And like, that's what Elly De La Cruz is, and that's what he's going to be until he gets to Chattanooga, and that's what he's going to be. You know, when this guy does make his MLB debut, we'll see what he looks like. And I think that it's pretty far away. What do you have his ETA at right now? 2024. I'd say 25.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to spend the entire year in high A, and then he's still going to be 21 years old next year in double A in 2023. I think he's full year each stop. And I think he can get up with the Reds in 2025.
Absolutely. And this is another guy that's playing in the Midwest. And like, I was watching games, he's like fully turtlenecked up all the way to his nose. And he's a super loose swinger. But the one thing that I want to look at with De La Cruz and thing to follow is super long limbs and just struggles to kind of control his whole lower half and control his body. As he continues to get better with that, this guy, he doesn't even need to be that great of a hitter. He could be a 40 hitter and he's still an all-star. So De La Cruz is one of my favorite names to watch moving forward. And one of the guys that I'm definitely looking to collect once his cards are live. And we're going to talk about that really quickly at the end. Some of the cards that we're looking to pick up out of the names we talked about, because De La Cruz is kind of a penny stock respectfully, but could pay off big. Coming in at number 51, the last guy we're going to talk about real quick, a guy that really I think is going to be one of the safest bets to be a middle of the rotation kind of starter. And the Texas Rangers need him badly. They could probably use him right now, but there's no reason to rush him because their team stinks. Cole Winn, right-handed pitching prospect in the Rangers organization, former first rounder in 2018, 15th overall, still only 22 years old. He's 6'2", 190. Talking about a balanced arsenal across the board, plus fastball, above average flashing plus curveball, above average slider, and a changeup that already flashes above average, and above average command. It's just safe, consistent, and the numbers back it up last year between double and triple. 86 innings, 2.41 ERA, 3.3 FIP, 0.86 WHIP, 32% K rate, 9% walk rate. I'll bet my life on this guy being a decent big league starter.
Yeah, well, you mentioned it. The Rangers are sparse of decent big league starters at the moment. And I think this was a guy that really capitalized on 2020. 2019, he was in low A and he had a 4.5 ERA. 2021, he comes back and he's striking out 11 guys per nine. So that's who Cole Winn is. I think this is a guy that put in a shit ton of work during his age 20 year in 2020. And he came back in 2021 and carved. And he's got a 2.2 ERA in Round Rock right now. The strikeout numbers aren't necessarily there at the moment. He's got 15 punch outs and 16 in the third through his first 4 starts. But, you know, I'm with you. If there's somebody on this list that is a high floor starting pitcher, it's Cole Winn. Of the people that we have talked about, it's Cole Winn.
100%. And you know what's funny is I think I made a note of it. I'm actually pulling it up right now of like what I said in the TLDR for him, because I wanted to say, just because we're saying high floor, don't mistake that for compromised ceiling. Yeah, it's actually exactly what I said. A good fastball with feel for 3 secondaries. Winn is one of the safer arms in the top 100, but don't mistake that for a limited ceiling. That's exactly what I would have said just now. What I was about to say is he still has number 2 upside, I think. Like
yes,
if the slider continues to progress, if the changeup continues to progress, and the command is where we think it can be, you've got 2+ pitches, 2 above average pitches, and above average command. That is like Shane Bieber-esque.
Listen, I will sign up for a 4-pitch mix any day of the week.
And he's young. So I'm a big fan of Cole Winn. He's one of those guys that look at his name and it's just like, I don't have to worry about that guy that much. Yeah. You know, like I don't have to worry about this take aging poorly. Like I just feel good about him. And a good build, 6'2", 190, 195. I think Cole Winn is as safe as it gets. I also forgot that today's a Thursday episode, so we can save the eBay discussion, the baseball card discussion for the Friday episode, right?
Perfect.
Let's do it. So to wrap up on these guys, who do you feel like could make the biggest leap this year? Not could. Who do you think will make the biggest leap? Because could is Elly De La Cruz. It could be the number 1 prospect in baseball by the end of the year. Who will make the biggest leap by the time we do the midseason update out of the names we watch? And who are you most excited to watch? That could be 2 different things.
Yeah, so I actually have the same answer for both of those, and I think it's Kyle Harrison. I think Kyle Harrison is my guy. I think that when Lodolo graduates, there's a chance that he's the top left-handed pitching prospect in all of baseball. So I think that's the guy that we're going to see jump. And you mentioned the command numbers so far this year. The strikeout numbers are absurd at the moment, and he's not walking anybody. If he keeps doing that, I'm telling you, there are a few things that I fall in love with, like how I fall in love with how fastballs and changeups parlay off of each other. And I mentioned it. This guy, he is the king in minor league baseball at working a changeup off of a good fastball, working a great changeup off of a great fastball. Yeah.
What organization is the king of identifying and developing those guys?
San Francisco.
Beautiful San Francisco. So I love it. I'm with you. And to wrap up real quick, if you're not following along with the top 100 prospect list that's live on justbaseball.com, and you're driving or commuting or whatever, this was the rundown again. It's Michael Harris at 60, Taj Bradley at 59, Kyle Harrison at 58, Jose Miranda at 57, Cade Cavalli at 56, Oswald Peraza at 55, Brandon Williamson at 54. Please pitch better so I don't look bad. Nick Gonzales at 53, Elly De La Cruz at 52, and Cole Winn at 51. A little teaser for tomorrow's episode. We will start with someone Jack saw a good deal of, and another guy who could have a major ascension, Andy Pages of the Dodgers.
I love Andy Pages.
Very fun group for tomorrow's episode. And all I'll say is if you're a Dodgers fan, you definitely got to tune in because there's 3 Dodgers in tomorrow's collection of 10 prospects.
Yeah.
Jack, any final thoughts?
This was a good crop of guys. I enjoyed doing this one because it had a great mix of the Jose Mirandas and the Nick Gonzaleses of the world that are high floor. Cole Winn, high floor.
Yeah.
And then anytime I get to talk about Elly De La Cruz, because you keyed me into him this offseason and I watched the video and I was like, this feels like Bruno Caballo for the NBA draft, but so much better. You know what I mean? Like moon landing type grainy footage. And Fran Fraschilla calling him the Brazilian Kevin Durant that's 2 years away from being 2 years away. But oh my God, if he's the Brazilian Kevin Durant, I'm all the way in.
I'm in.
That's what Elly De La Cruz is.
I'm gonna sign up for that. And you know what the best part is? it's only going to get better and better because we're counting down. So it's going to be really fun. It's funny for transparency. The last thing I'll say is, we talked about it before because you had a crazy schedule given that you were a minor league play-by-play broadcaster, and we wanted to get an episode out. And I was like, should I just do it by myself? And you're like, yeah, go ahead. Like you can do that by yourself and run through the 10. And then I pull up the names and I was like, you're going to be mad if I do this without you. You're going to love all these names. So we're like, we'll figure it out. So I'm glad we figured it out. And then tomorrow, a lot of Dodgers and a lot of fun names I'm excited about as well. So we will talk to you then.